Welcome to this week's edition of The Author's Eye with me, your host, Derek M Cartwright. Today we're doing something slightly different in that we are going to be doing a special Meet the Author. Today we're going to be talking to Sally Ann Melia, who is a science fiction author. And it's just really just to get a better feel for Sally's writing process, etc., which hopefully is of interest to you fellow writers. Anyway, here we go. So let's make a start. Hello, Sally.
Hello, Mark. Good.
Here we
I'm
go.
very pleased to be here. It's real. I've really been looking forward to talking to you. This should be a fun chat.
Cool. Excellent. Glad to hear it. Okay, let's start then. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Who is your favorite author and why?
Okay, so that is easy because my favorite author is Ian M. Banks, a science fiction writer, but he also writes as Ian Banks. And the reason why he's my favorite author is that he's about the same age as us. Unfortunately, he died of cancer a few years ago.
Yeah.
But when I was like in my 20s and 30s, I think he wrote 17 science fiction books in total, and I think he wrote a similar number of nonfiction. But he was writing a book every year, and it used to be the highlight of my year to go and buy Ian's new book. And he was also very much on the science fiction convention scene, so I used to meet him at conventions, and we did sort of know each other to have a beer. But he was very gregarious, so he'd say hello to anyone. Well, and I sort of counted him as somebody I knew anyway, couldn't we say? And it was I knew him before he was properly famous.
Right.
But then obviously we saw. I remember him saying to me once, when he'd got onto it about his fifth culture book, he said to me, "I'm finally earning more from my writing, Sally, than any other job I've done in my life." And I thought, like, gosh, that must be such a
Uh,
feeling of achievement to
uh,
finally be earning more from your writing than anything else you've done in your life. Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, that's and I love that because I love the name drop as well. So it's really cool. Okay, so let's take you back. And I'm sorry,
Yes.
we have to talk about your childhood here, not in any
Yes.
kind of psychological reassessment, but okay, as a child, can you remember what was the first book that you actually bought?
First book I was actually bought. Um, well, was this the first book that I bought, or first book that I was
No, the
bought?
first one that you've actually bought, the first one that you've
Yes.
gone, because I think sometimes as kids we get given stuff, don't we? It may
Yes.
not be for us, whereas if you've gone and it's your money, yeah,
Yes. I was a voracious reader. I mean, I used to read and read and read and read. I would read a book in a day or read a couple of
yeah.
books in a day. It used to be quite acceptable to lie on your bed and read a book in a way
Oh
that
yeah,
lying on your bed and
absolutely.
playing with your phone is just not acceptable.
Yeah,
And so I remember I'd run out of things to read, and my father had a big collection of books. And we had obviously this is back in the 70s, so we had like a bookcase all the way around the lounge, but it was low level. So if you can imagine.
yeah,
So I was wandering around looking at seeing if there's anything I could read. And the book I came across was The Lord of the Rings. And it was the old cover, which had the yellow spine, and it had the forest on the front, the swirling forest. And I
yeah,
looked at it and I thought, like, I really, and the forest had little goblins in it and little creatures. And I was like, I really, really like that cover. I really want to find out. But I was a bit nervous because I I thought, is this the same as The Lord of the Flies? And I already knew that The Lord of the Flies was a book that I probably shouldn't be reading when I was 10 years old. And I was wondering, is this the same or is this different? And I
yeah,
picked it up and I was just completely sucked in. I then read it about, as you do when you're 10 years old. I read it 10 times in that year.
yeah.
Absolutely, 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 absolutely. And then I did actually then read it every year for years and years and years afterwards.
Yeah, I've got a
Mm.
friend who's exactly the same with that book. Who reads it once a year. Um, yeah, I mean, I first read it. I was a bit older. I was 13, I think, when I first read that. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I when I was growing up, I used the library. So I used to go and sit. My mum would take us to see her mum, my nan, and there was a local library. 2 minutes away. And in those days, I could just do, I'd get my little library card and I'd say goodbye to them. I'd walk up to the library, the librarian would say hello, and then you'd give the card and I'd come away with 4 books. And then I'd toddle back down to my nan's, and that was my reading material for the next week. And then the next Thursday, when I went to my nan, I went and took those books back and got another 4. Um, so I wasn't quite as voracious as you were, but I did
Yeah,
manage to get 4 a week in as a as
yeah.
a
We
as a
we
young
had library
person.
we had library cards.
Yeah.
My sister and I, and we used to get 8 books a week, and we used to read all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been writing basically all your life then, presumably?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
what's a typical writing day look like for you? I mean, obviously, or I assume that you're working
Yep.
away from writing, so that's going to put obviously a restraint on how much you get done. But I'm just wondering, what's a typical day? If you're going to be writing on a day, what does it look like?
Yeah. So I do quite a lot of my writing on the weekend. Uh, so I tend to get up at 7 before the rest of the family gets up because I get up at 7 anyway.
Yeah.
I get up at 7, which is because I don't really sleep in, and then I just switch on the computer and I just start writing, and and then I normally write through till about 11, and and then I stop because normally by then the rest of the family is getting up, so we get on with Saturday.
Yeah.
Um, Now, of course, both my children have gone on. They've left home. So actually, I'm in my first year of being a proper empty nester.
Yeah.
So I now find that I can do something at lunchtime, and then I sit down again about 4, and then I can work through till about 9. And then on weekdays, at the moment I'm on the deadline for something, so I'm working 6 till 9. But I also this morning I was up and I did 7 till 9 as well. So I did 7 till 9 in the morning,
Right.
and I'll probably do 6 till 9 tonight. Obviously, this counts. Does this count as work? I don't think talking to you counts as work, but this is my
Yeah.
work zone. And then yeah, so I've been doing because I've had the new book out as of Empire this month, and I've been doing. You have to do such a lot of work to get it finished. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
writing the story or even writing the end. It's the next bit, which
Yeah.
takes such a lot of
Oh
work.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to do that, and yeah, so yeah, so I'm working a lot at the moment. I'm working quite a long time. Fortunately, we, as part of the Hogsback writers, we have these wonderful things called jellies. And I should explain this is not a dessert. What it is when we meet at the hall, our writing venue, and we write for an entire day. And I've had about 3 of those in the past 6 months, which has been really helpful to get a good 7 hours in. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't yet to work out what's called the jelly either, but there you go.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's an American thing. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I find it really useful. My only problem is every time I do one of those, I end up coming away with a different story to the one that I thought I was going to be writing. But there you go. That's just the way my brain works. Okay. Well, you talked about your writing day. Now,
Yes.
when you're writing, then are you someone that carefully plots out the story? Do you have a sort of is this a vision that you have in your head and you must just release the demon, or is it something whereby you effectively make it up by the seat of your pants as a pantser and just crack on and see what happens and see where the muse takes you?
Well, I do have a proper secret source to this, and it is called walking the dog.
Okay.
Um,
And this
and
is
walk
not a euphemism, is it?
no, this
This
is
is
actually
actually
walking. I
walking the
do
dog.
actually have a dog,
Yes.
and I do walk the dog. And so what uh, I normally have, I normally get an idea, and I'll start writing. And I do actually write longhand for speed's sake. I'll
Mm,
write longhand, and I'll get about 5,000 words down quite quickly. And then once I've got 5,000 words down, then that's about as much as I can write in one day. I can't. So then, obviously, life gets in the way, so you stop writing. But as you're walking, walking is I do it in a very deliberate way. So the first 10 minutes of your walk, you're always worrying about your work or your family or whatever it is that you're walking away from. And then there sort of like becomes this moment, and you've got this moment where you can actually deliberately say to yourself, I'm going to think about my book. And I've done it so often now that it becomes second nature. I sort of like 10 minutes into the walk, when I've released all the tension of whatever else is, I sort of go back to the scene which I was working on the day before. And I sort of like I just play out scenarios in my head. And then I normally walk for another 20 minutes. And then actually, that's sometimes when I have these really unusual ideas and things sort of start going off at tangents that I hadn't really thought of. But actually, that's the story starting to tell itself. And then I come back and I write that. And then, and so it goes. So it goes. Yes. But yeah. So I do give myself time to speak. One of the key things when you're walking for writing is not to listen to music and not to listen to podcasts. I look at people who've got...
Other than this one, of course.
Yeah, well, you can listen to this one.
You can listen to this one.
You can. Well, I always look at people who are walking or running with... I can understand runners because you need that energy. And I think when you're running, actually having some music to keep you going is probably quite a good idea. But walking is all about letting your mind wander. And you don't want a soundtrack to that. You have to let your mind drift. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, look, now I'm aware that you've got a book. Your latest book is just been released or is soon to be released?
Yes. No, it's just been released.
Okay,
yes.
well, let's talk about that. I'll give you an opportunity to talk about that. So,
yes.
Tell us a little bit about what the inspiration is for this particular book.
Yes. So it is a future Earth story. It's set about 200, maybe not even 200 years in the future. And the basic premise is that Earth has been contacted. And that's great. So some aliens arrive, they take a look, they say, oh yeah, you've got a bit of a space program. Yep, you're definitely a unique species. So we'll put you on a map. And unfortunately, what happens when they put you on the map is that then other nations find out about you. And that's when the trouble starts, because people will start raiding, although in theory you're under protection of the great united races. They don't often get out here that often, or if they do, it's a bit on and off. So therefore you get subjected to raiders and pirateers and plunderers and all sorts of things. It's rather unpleasant when you first get recognized inside the... And I suppose that's necessary because you need to quickly step up to being a different type of nation. And so what Earth decides to do is they have to have a fighting force and they haven't got enough ships. I mean, this is their basic problem. And they haven't got enough ships, and they haven't got ships that are powerful enough to take on their alien attackers. So what they do is they come up with this force who are essentially suicide fighters, who they smash their way on board the alien ships. And then their whole modus operandum is to take the ship. And they want to take the ship. So therefore, they don't want to do any damage to it. So they're not going to use explosive or projectile weapons or anything that's going to make any damage to the ship. They're just going to use long swords and knives to kill as many people as possible. And then they take ownership of the ship. Now, this is fine for Earth, because you've got to remember that if you don't kill these aliens, they're likely to come and kidnap you and eat you and steal your resources and various other unpleasant things. So we do need to defend ourselves against these people, but they do get a bit of a bad reputation because they're quite good at that. As they go along, they build up a fleet of mismatched alien craft that they've taken off other alien species, and that's the Dome Militant. Now, who would you ever get to do that? I mean, this is not the most pleasant of jobs. And of course, the people who get to do it are the people who've got no other choices. Hence my hero, Guy Omer, who has really no other choices. And he sees joining the Earth Defence Force as being a way out, as being a better life. He actually thinks that would be amazing. to be given a big sword and then to go and kill aliens, you'd think would be absolutely fantastic, because he'd also get 3 meals a day and a roof over his head and some, companionship and all the rest of it. So we have this story of this very poor boy who's trying to make his way. And then at the opposite side of the spectrum, we have Prince Theodore, who is the son of the king who set up the Dome Militant.
Right.
And he, on the other hand, is just a little bit overwhelmed, particularly as his father has been killed. Because this is a question: who killed his father, and why was his father killed? Was it because Earth was just becoming a little bit too successful at defending itself, at being, as I was coming on a bit too fast as a developing planetary system? But we don't really know. All we know is we've got this 16-year-old boy who's due to inherit the throne, and he's really he's a bit nervous about it. I wouldn't say he's nervous, but I wouldn't say he was excited about it either. He's sort of like, they killed my father, and now I have to do this. It's like, what?
This is more than one book, isn't it? This is going to be a whole series.
Yes. So that was the first book is called Born of Empire.
Right.
And that's where we meet Guy and Theodore. And I had to contrive a way. I actually wrote in an early draft. I wrote Guy and Theodore met on the corner of a street. And I thought, like, how could they possibly meet? How could they possibly meet? In what world were these two people ever going to meet on the street corner? And I thought, okay, no, they're not going to meet like that. So Born of Empire was how they met. And for them to meet, Theodore has to be kidnapped. He's kidnapped and he's in very severe jeopardy. He's likely to die. The stakes are so high. Because he has so much power in his family, there's so much wealth, there's so much political power at stake that he is going to die. Until, of course, he meets Guyama, and Guyama thinks like, oh, that's the prince. Why is he there? He should be back at Buckingham Palace, it turns out. And so, yeah. So their book, can he find a way to help him? Can he find a way to get him out when he's just a boy, the street, who's got almost nothing?
So how many books are actually in this series?
So we've now got on to, I've just finished the 5th book, which was, so there's, okay, bear with, there's Born of Empire, book 1, Son of Empire, book 2, Soldier of Empire, book 3, Captain of Empire, book 4, and book 5 is Heirs of Empire. So it's quite fun because Theodore, for the first 2 books, is seen to be the only heir, but it turns out that there's more than one heir. And by the time I get to book 5, they're all starting to fight it out. Who's going to take over?
Fantastic. Well, that's going to keep you busy for a while, isn't it? There's a lot more to come, do you think?
I think so, yes. I'm just trying to work out how long it's going to take me to write book 6. I've already written quite a fair chunk of book 6 already.
Yeah.
But I'm just shattered. Really shattered.
And is that because, is this to do with the marketing side of it? It's not just writing, is it? Because there's everything else that goes with it.
I'm shattered from the editing and getting it finished process, getting it over the line. I think I need to take I might take a few weeks out. I've got one other project I want to work on. I have another series of novellas called the Alien series. And I was looking through my notebooks and I'd realized I'd written 2 more novellas in my notebooks, but I've never typed them up or finished them off. So I think just as a bagatelle, because they're only quite short, I might just get them typed up, get them finished, and get those published. And then but that'll probably take me till Christmas. So, and then then it'll be a race to try and get the next book finished by next year. I have to try and get, when you're working full time, the goal is to try and produce 1 book a year.
Yeah.
When you can finally have got a following and you can make enough money from your writing, then you try and do 2 or 3 books a year.
So it just see, now anyone would think that was organized, because that's my next question. When it comes to the writing, what are your hopes and aspirations, and this is this idea of you daring to dream sort of thing. So, is the dream really to be able to jack in your full-time job and effectively
I think
write full-time.
it's closer now than it was because my children have fled the nest, so
Yeah.
it's just me, the dog, and my lovely husband. Um, and yeah, we're not. Yeah, so it feels quite possible at the moment. Just yes, it wouldn't take very much, I don't think, to move across and say, right, I'm going to do this. I'm just looking at options for getting in to get some income in so that you
Yeah.
can keep the wool from the wall.
Yeah.
Because you can't just, I know you could just throw everything up there, but I don't think I will just throw everything up in the air. I'm trying to see if I can maybe find a part-time job. Maybe I suppose that's the answer. I don't know. So difficult, isn't it?
It is. It is. But that's yeah, I think it's fascinating, and thanks for taking part in this. Um, one last thing really is just where can readers get hold of your books? Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I'm quite lucky. Obviously, they're on Amazon everywhere,
yeah,
and they're in paperback and in ebook. And you can find, if you look for Sally Ann Melia, you'll see all my books there. And then also, I have published them through a traditional publishing house, Ingram Spark. So you can find them online at the Waterstones bookshop, and there's a paperback version there. So you won't find them in stores, but you can order the paperbacks either through Amazon or you can order a paperback through Waterstones. And there's actually quite a lot of, because I'm with Ingram Spark, quite a lot of indie publishers have got the books in their catalogs.
yeah.
So they're quite widespread, they're quite widely available.
Cool. And I'll put some links
Yeah.
um, in the notes of this podcast. Okay, well that's it, I think. So
Yes.
thank you very much, Sally,
Well, it's
for
been my pleasure.
sharing
It really has.
some of the secrets of your writing process. So good luck with it all, and thanks a lot for doing the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool.